Okay, so I want to move on from yesterday. We spoke Sif Gimel. Today I want to go from Sif Dalet through Sif Tes. A few points from Sif Dalet to Sif Tes, where from Sif Dalet through Sif Tes, once we get to Sif Yud Alfid Beis Gimel talks about when there's already a window open and somebody wants to build a wall. There's already a chazaka in the window. I'm going to get until that point. And as we said in the previous Yurim, specifically this Siman and Bechlal the Siman we're learning this year, almost every Seif has something which is Negei Alamaisa, one way or the other. But almost every Seif has something which you could say is Negei Alamaisa. So in Sif Daled, it starts, you have a small opening, or you have a small door. The Shach right away points out, and Shach and Smeh both tell you, or a small window, you can't make it wider. What does it mean you can't make it wider? It could be even a very, very tiny amount of making it wider. If you look in the end of Sif Yud Gimel, the last words of Sif Yud Gimel is afilu kol shehu, about making something wider. So that applies over here in this Sif also. Why, he could say, very simple, you're making the Hezekriya bigger, you're changing the Hezekriya, which is, how are you making it bigger? He says you had a small window, or a small door, so I knew where to stand in the Chatzar and hide from you. Now, I can't hide from you anymore, or it's small, so now, what, in the Poskim that discuss it, is very interesting over here, the Pischei Tshuva right away starts discussing about glass windows. What are they talking about glass windows over here? Now you just have to come into realization what we're talking about over here. In the times of the Gemara, when it says Ashashis, that's referring to glass, it's usually referring to dark glass. It was dark, it was green, usually green or blue. And that's why regarding tznius, to see the glass is considered as a separation. But when we're talking about today, when we say glass, we're referring to glass which is see-through. The other point that you have to remember, when it says Chalon in Shulchan Aruch, we say window. That's a translation today. But it's not a window. It's an opening in the wall. So anytime it says Chalon, it's usually talking about that you just open up a window in the wall.
Putting glass in windows regularly in the last 100 years.
Yeah, even then, no, they see Beis Yosef already brings it, they put glass in already then, but it wasn't so common. The glass was very...
Typical window probably didn't have glass.
Didn't have any glass. No, they had those, they had those metal, usually metal or wood windows. Those windows, they would just close and close shut. So you open them in the summer to get some sunlight, and in the winter, we'd have to figure out. You'd open them when it gets too hot in the house, but usually it was not an issue.
Also about baking matzah.
Yeah, about Keneged HaChalon. What's Keneged HaChalon? If glass applies or not. So the Pischei Tshuva right away over here brings, it says he heard from a certain Rav that you're not allowed to change from if you had a glass window that was set in place. It doesn't say if it's a clear window or not a clear window. And now you want to change it that it should be able to swing. That means it was just a piece of glass on the hole in the wall, but now you want to put hinges on it so you could open it. It's usher. Why? Because the Hezekriya through glass is not the same as the Hezekriya without glass. Now here it doesn't, and the Pischei Tshuva says tzarich on this psak, which implies that the Pischei Tshuva is actually talking about clear glass, because if it's dark glass, then obviously why would it be tzarich on such a psak? It's obviously talking about clear glass. But then he brings in the Beis Yosef. The Beis Yosef in Shas Tshuva's Afkas Roichel, Siman Kuf Chafalov, says about somebody that had there was a person had a wall facing his friend's chatzar, and he wanted to open up a window, but he didn't want to. It means he wanted to open a hole in the wall, and he wanted to put in front of the window glass, And the Pesach Tshuva in the end says that this glass is for sure talking about dark glass, not clear glass. And the shoyel, the person who asked the question, well, it means the neighbor who wanted to be ma'akev, tinted glass, dark glass. The person who wanted to be ma'akev says, I want to be ma'akev for 3 reasons. First of all, glass could break. Second of all could be I would like to, down the line, I'm going to want to build a wall in front of this place because that's my property, and because you have a window there and you're going to be machzik, I'm not going to be able to stop you from doing it because of chazaka. And the Beis Yosef says both reasons are not valid. First of all, schuchis, glass. No, it's 2. My mistake. It's 2, not 3. And first of all, schuchis does work for hezekriya, blocks hezekriya. So by me opening a hole in my wall and then blocking it with glass, not over any problem. Second of all, we're not worried about.
Isn't the problem that it might break?
That's what he says. He says the problem is glass. The fact that you're worried that glass is going to break. He says we never saw anywhere that a mechitza which is used for hezekriya, we have a chashash it's going to break. What happens if you put a mechitza in the chotzer? You put a mechitza of bamboo sticks, mechitza shalkonim. Shulchan Aruch, the Gemara doesn't say b'chlal that it's a problem. It could be there's going to be a wind that's going to knock these konim down. We're not worried about something breaking. If right now there's no hezekriya, it's fine. Third of all, people are more careful when it comes to glass, that it's not going to break. And he says that he saw that people who have glass, they put a net of metal in front of it, so to prevent from the Ne'arim who throw rocks that the glass shouldn't break. So this breaking windows was a minhag in the times of Beis Yosef also. It's not only a New York thing. Broken windows. It was a minute kids would throw rocks at glass. So the point was people careful. Glass was, even today, is not cheap, but then it was even much more expensive because it was all handmade. And it's people are careful, so they're going to put metal. So there's nothing to worry about all these things. And Pesach Tshuva says obviously we're talking about here glass that is dark and not glass that is clear. And he ends with a tzarechiyun, which implies.
What about the second hand? You won't be able to build next to it.
He's not worried about it. He's not worried about it. He says as long as there is over there the prevent as a kriya he seems to imply that it's not really a problem. But anyways, Pesach Tshuva concludes that this window is obviously we're talking about this glass, obviously talking about dark glass, not clear glass, and he says tzarechiyun. So tzarechiyun, the way I understand tzarechiyun at Pesach Tshuva is that tzarechiyun, if we can make a difference between clear glass that you could see through and not clear glass that you can't see through. There is one of the achrayim also. I can't remember where it is. I'm going to have to find it. One of the tshuvas, which has an interesting gedank based on this, and you could say that it's again a misunderstanding of the metzius of glass from the old Rishonim to the times of the Achrayim, that he says that about, not here, but in Shin Ayin Ches, where it talks about not to look for Ayin Hara at your friend's field, that if you're looking through glasses, it's not a problem. You wear glasses. Then they didn't have glasses like today, but it was like to be able to see it, to put a glass. It was actually a piece of glass that you held. And he says that's not considered hezekriya. Hezekriya is going directly with your eyes.
So probably someone that can't see so well, and he has his glasses. So that's not hezekriya, but he can't see so well.
No, with the glasses, there should be hezekriya. If I can't see, if I take off my glasses, there's no hezekriya. I can't see anything. Once I'm past, I could see, the most I could see is the end of the bima. I'll put on my glasses, I could see everybody. So the hezekriya is fakert, only when there is glasses. But so this, I don't know, whatever.
Someone that has to wear glasses, so I think that's good enough to start.
Anyways, that's the Beis Yosef. The Knesset Agdela. Huh?
I don't really want to see the discussion, but I want to take off the glasses to look at the Ravana.
If you have to take it off, or you have to put on the glasses to look at the Ravana.
Whatever.
Yeah. But over here, when it comes to hezekriya, it doesn't make any sense to say that if you put on glasses, there's no hezekriya. Maybe if you put on sunglasses, we can say dingen. That's a separate discussion.
Someone spoke about this.
Sunglasses?
Talking about the Kiddush Levana for the glass.
That's what you just mentioned.
Right, but I think there's like a tshuva that everyone quotes, the Dvar Shmuel, maybe, Shmuel Admor.
Yeah.
But the whole thing's like one big misunderstanding. As you can tell from the tshuva that what he really meant is that you might be seeing like glare and reflection in the glass. Yom Chaba, it's not the moon, you think it's the moon, like Kedmus, Nidab Levana. So like the whole basis of the discussion is not really Nishkin.
The Knesset Agdela brings the name of the Marshach, Chelik Beis, Siman Kuf Lamed Beis. That Taka, we are worried about glass breaking, and therefore it's Taka not a good enough for the Shaila to prevent Hezekiah. He doesn't discuss whether there's a net over there or not, but l'chayra, even according to the Dvar Shmuel, according to the Marshach, maybe it would work if you put a glass in front of it. If you put a metal net in front of the glass to prevent it from breaking, you prevent the problem. Shas and is Beis David from Saloniki. Mispat Siman Tzadi Gimel. He says there's three conditions that you need. Number one, that the mechitza has to be bichlal for Hezekiah. Number one, the mechitza has to be strong and not they can fly around in the wind. Number two, that it doesn't have a hole in the mechitza. And number three, that it has to be thick enough that it's not going to crack with time. It doesn't say about glass cracking. Now, there's two ways of...
You're talking about glass or you're talking about...
Bichlal, Hezekiah.
What?
Something thick that's not going to fizzle out over time. Don't put a paper shade. Paper shade is going to rain, and right now it's blocking completely. You take and you put you have a Hezekiah, and the guy says Hezekiah, so you go and you take a roll of paper that you see in the matzah bakery, and you stick it on the wall. So, Hezekiah, that doesn't count. First of all, it flies in the wind. It doesn't follow the first one. Second of all, it's going to fall apart. It says it has to be thick, can't have any holes, and it has to be placed in a way that it's kavua, that it's permanently placed over there. Now, understanding the Beis David, there's two ways of understanding it. You'll understand that this means that these are the conditions that lechatchila you're allowed to do it, which means if I have a house with a window, without a window facing the chatzar, and I want to have, because the back of my house is facing Mizrach, and I want to have sunshine coming into my window in the morning. I want to wake up in the morning and see the sun shining into my house. But I don't want to do Hezekiah. So I could do all these three conditions and put glass over there that's only one-way glass, right? It's one-way glass, so then there's no Hezekiah. They're only going to bring the sunshine in. Or you want the sunshine only in the afternoon, so you want to open up in the other side in Ma'ariv, depending which direction the house is facing. So some understand the Beis David that it means l'chatchila, these are the conditions to do it. But and that's how the Divrei Malkiel Chelik Hey Siman Kuf Chav Zayin understands him. But if you read the lashon of the Beis David, it seems it's only b'diavad. That if b'diavad you went and you violated Shulchan Aruch and you opened the window facing the other person's chatzar, and then you went and you blocked it with these three conditions, so then you don't force them to block it with bricks. That means that's b'diavad it works, but not l'chatchila. Now, if a person has a big opening and he wants to then make he has a big doorway, there's big doors that could be wide doors, and instead of making one big door, he wants to make two small doors that are going to swing outwards, swing inwards. And if you know those doors we're talking about, it's not so common in New York, but in other places it is. And you have just two doors going in, and he could block him from doing it because he could tell him when it's one door, I could hide from you better. I know. I see the door opening. I'll stop doing in Yonei Tznius. But when it's two, I can't. And the Smer right away explains something which is needed to understand is what difference is there? Door is a door. So he says when you have one door, most people don't leave the door open to the house the whole day. But when it's two doors, a lot of times one door will be open. I happen to see in South America where it's much more common to have those two doors that I grew up in. So if you have one door, a lot of times you would have in front of the building, in front of houses, you have two small doors. They're very narrow. Each door is about maybe 2 feet, a foot and a half wide, and a lot of times only one is open. So that way, when you walk, you don't have to ring the bell. You can just scream, and the person inside hears you and comes out. But You could see a little bit into the house. And you can also see a little bit out. So he says, the Smeh says, one door is more commonly open one door is a minhag to leave it open much more often. But two doors, when you have two doors, it's more common to leave one of them open the whole time. When you have only one door, it's not so common to leave it open. And that's why you could block him from doing such a thing. And then the Mechaber continues, if it's open to Rosh Hashanah, it's not a problem. You could make your door wider, you could make one into two. And the person who's across the street in the Rosh Hashanah has no right to block you. And the Ramah says, if you have a big opening, a big door, you could make it smaller, but you can't change its location. So it means if you have a door which is 36 inches wide, and now you want to make a door which is only 30 inches wide, then if you have a big window, and you did construction in your house, and you want to make, because these questions apply the whole time when it comes to construction, because if you have one big window and small windows, and let's say I have a big window and you want to brick part of it to make it into a small window. The dogma, somebody has redesigned his house, bought an old house, and now he wants to make, where the kitchen was, he wants to make a bathroom, part of the kitchen. He wants to make the kitchen towards the back, and he wants to put the bathroom in the middle. But if the old houses, the kitchen has a window which is the size of the bimeh, and the bathroom has a window which is the size of the cartel box. So what do? You don't block a window. You put bricks, the same design as the outside of the house, until it becomes small. So that's not a problem. Right? If you want to make it smaller. The Smeh has a very interesting idea over here. It's Sifkat and Tazayin. He says this is only talking about when you originally had a door over there, but not when you had a pirza, when it was just completely open, there was no door frame, there was no door over there. So if it was completely a pirza, completely open to the chutzner of your friend, you can't go now and put a door over there. Why? Because if it's a pirza, it's a big hezekriya over there, the whole time it's a hezekriya, and the neighbor could come one day and put up a wall in front of it and say, you have a big opening from your house to my chutzner, I don't want you looking in. And Bala Pirza, the owner of the house, can't stop him from doing it. But if there's a door, if you put a door over there, or you put a window over there, you're going to have a problem that later he's not going to be able to put up a wall over there to block it. So the hezekriya becomes permanent. Mashenkin before that, the hezekriya is not permanent. Second of all, when you have a pirza, so he knows when you're walking around in your house. He's standing in the chutzner, he sees you walking, you come into the house, he sees you walking towards the back, he's going to make sure not to do anything that he doesn't want you to see in the chutzner. But if there's a door over there, or there's a window over there, that's the second reason the Smeh, if there's a door or if there's a window, he has no idea to know if you're there and to know when to hide. So therefore, it's a problem. That's the shit of the Smeh. That a door is different than a doorway. Door without a door, you can't put up a door over there. You can't make it. You can't convert it to a door. You can't do it. Maybe you can make it smaller, but you can't convert it to a door or to a window. Shalosh Tzuvas Parach Mate Aharon. Chelik Bei Siman Gimel proves that the Rivosh and Siman Taftes holds the same way. But the Parach Mate Aharon brings from the Rashba. And this Rashba is what the Rashba that we call it a Miyuchasis, because it used to be printed as the Ran, but it's really the Rashba. It's a Miyuchasis Laran Siman Tzadik Beis, which is quoted in Beis Yosef. It's mashma that it's not so. Why? Because the Rashba is discussing that a certain person who had a porch or in front of his house and had no roof on the porch. And the person decided he wants to close his porch and make it a closed room, add another room. So a lot of times it's more common, that's the mashal. If you have, in New York you don't see it so often, but let's say the people even in New York who have in front of their houses have like this a place where you could put a sukkah over there, like a half a porch over there. And now they want to close it and make another room over there. Make another room over there. That happens, we see it in certain blocks. A lot of people, Shnasa Binyan, you look in certain blocks, you see Shnasa Binyan, that's when a lot of those porches became into rooms, and he wants to close it and put windows over there, and that's facing the chutzner. And he says, the Rashba says that it's mutter. It means the shoyel had a few reasons. We're going to get to the shoyel soon, but the Rashba passes that it's completely mutter. And Parach Mate Aharon says, the maskana lahaloch is like the Rashba, that you cannot change a full. Huh? What is it?
Yeah.
He says there's no problem to close off a porch and open windows. It means that if you have a pirtze, there's a complete pirtze to the chatzar, and now you want to go and you want to put a Chalon or a Pesach over there, it's not aser, because you only, as long as you're making it smaller, and not like the smeh was mechalek between the two. That's what the Parach Mataren understands from the Rashba. However, the Erech Shai earlier, Sifkat and Gimel in over here, he has a very, very long, it's like two pages of small letters in this blue book in the Sifrei Achrayim, and he goes through a bunch of different scenarios that are relevant to Hezekiah. And one of the cases he discusses is somebody who had a store which was open to which not open, which had a wall facing a chatzar which was open to the Reshus HaRabim. So the chatzar is open to the Reshus HaRabim. People are walking back and forth in the Reshus HaRabim. So there's no real Hezekiah anymore because the chatzar is open to the Reshus HaRabim. Anyone walks past the Reshus HaRabim because exactly what's going on in the chatzar. Comes the Baal HaChanuz and says, I want to open up a window in my wall facing the chatzar, and that's the question that came to the Erech Shai, and he says it's also the Erech Shai, and the Erech Shai says it's also according to this smell over here. And why is that? And he proves it from the Ritva. It's the first try he brings us from the smell over here, that a window creates a different form of Hezekiah. The person could say, my chatzar, I know it's in front of the Reshus HaRabim, but I know, in the morning rush hour, there's a lot of people walking over here. And at night, this rush hour, there's a lot of people walking over here. Between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m., there's nobody here. I'm usually, one person walks by, or it's not a problem. I'm not worried about Hezekiah. Now you're going to have a window in your store. The window is a permanent Hezekiah, and the proof is from this Smeh. So he clearly does not hold like the Parach Mataren in the name of the Rashba. And he says, well, we already know from before that the Hezek of a Chanus is worse than the Hezek of the Reshus HaRabim, because the Chanus, like we discussed then, the person sits over there the whole time. So this we're talking about the Chanus the other way. Usually the Chanus we say it's in front of maybe over here, the guy is sitting in the back of his store, and he has a window. And there's more traffic going into the Chanus, so there's more permanent Hezekiah. So therefore it's a problem. And then he brings you the story of the Rashba. He says, I hold like the person who asked the question to the Rashba. He says Ramban, but it's the Rashba. And he says, what was this? And he discusses over there. The story over there was a porch which was open, like I said before. And the porch had no roof. And the porch had no windows. And the person wanted to close it off with a roof, make it into a room. And the neighbor wanted to be ma'akiv. The Rashba paskin that it's not. The Erech Shai says the Shoel was right. He has a right to block him. Why is that? He says a hezek in an uncovered porch is much less than a hezek which is within the Chalon. Just for a simple reason. If a porch is uncovered, you're only going to be there when it's not raining, when it's not snowing, when it's whatever. Like, you're not there the whole time. Once you convert it into a room, you made it into a study, then you're sitting there learning the whole time. You made it into a bedroom, there's people there. So therefore, it's always going to be a hezek, much bigger hezek. It's the first reason. And then he says, and the proof of it, he brings the Parach Mataren also, but he brings the Parach Mataren to as a proof, the way the Parach Mataren understands the Rivosh agrees with the Smeh. He says the way that Rivosh, that the Parach Mataren brings, supports my opinion. And just by the way, when you have Erech Shai, usually you do a lot of Rabbanim do paskin like the Erech Shai. The only Shai I have is if somebody already did it, could he say Kimli like the Parach Mataren and against the Smeh or not against the Smeh? You have a Smeh and the Erech Shai in one way. A person could say Kimli like the Rashba against the Rivosh. I don't know. The nafkamina, like I said before, today is very common that you have such issues, making your house bigger, making your house smaller, you're making windows, the construction, etc. That's sifdal. If someone who has 2 doors and wants to make 1. Shulchan says yesh mishayimir. There's nobody disagrees with it. Yesh mishayimir, that you cannot stop him from doing it, even though when you have 2 doors, is more. We learned It's just as if before the 2 doors is more of a hezekriya than 1 door, because 2 doors, one of them will always remain open. And here you're converting it to 1 door. And if you're converting it to 1 door, it's going to be less hezekriya based on the previous sif. Over here, you want to convert 2 doors into 1, you could stop him. You could stop him over here. And the svara is very simple over here. The same thing you could say when there's 2 doors that are open. I could see when you're walking in the house, and I know when to hide. When there's only 1 door open, and you open it fully, it's much bigger. Now the Ramos says,
Well, you do it.
huh?
You have 2 doors you can open fully.
Yeah, but not always. It's not always open. I don't know exactly the svara. Why is that? It's not so clear to me. But that is the svara. The Ramo over there comes and says that if you have 2 doors if you have 2 separate doorways of 2 amas each, not 2 doors in 1 doorway, 2 separate doors of 2 amas each, and you want to break the separation between them and make it into 1 door of dalad amas, then it's also. And the Smev there explains the logic in Sifkot Yud Zayin. When the 2 doors are completely connected together, you could since you could open them together, like you said, so it's the same as 1 door. So therefore, you can convert 2 doors into 1 door. But when you have 2 doors with something in between them, with a hefsek between them, then usually you don't open the 2 things together, and you don't bring. He says when you have. So therefore, if you're going to convert 2 narrow doors into 1 big door, suddenly you can start bringing masois kvedim, heavy things through it, and there's more of a hezekriya. And this is based on the Beis Yosef, the way the Beis Yosef quotes it in the Gemara. The Shach Sifkot and Tess says the Beis Yosef To'o made a mistake in this. Pretty sharp lashon. This is the Beis Yosef made a mistake. The Beis Yosef made a mistake that's in the Gemara. It's not in the Gemara. It's in the Rif. And it's mashma from the Shach. It's b'chlal not eser. Same thing, you could take 2 doors which don't have anything separating between them. Is the same din exactly as 2 doors that have something separating between them, and you could convert it into one door. The Taz over here also says there's no chashash for this svara of the 2 doors with something separating between them is different than 2 doors with nothing separating between them, because that svara is bichlal not mentioned in Gemara, and therefore you have to be choishish to it bichlal. And it's only mentioned in the Rif. And the Mukhi Yosef clearly says that it's mutter. Sivas HaMishpat takes a more nuanced approach over here in Beurim Sifkot and Yud, that if both doors are completely close, are very close to each other with a very very thin separation between them, so that's not a problem, like the Taz and the Shach. But if there is a separation between them, berichuk mokoim, that a little further apart, then vaday da asur. Why? Because you're changing the location of the door. We know from before that changing the location of the door is asur. Here it's also. So I was thinking about it. Let's say if you had a 2-foot window, because the windows are the same thing. You have a 2-foot window and a 1-foot gap and a 2-foot window. So according to the Shach and the Taz, you could knock them. You could knock them both out, right, and make one big window. According to the Nesivis, according to the Smes for sure also. According to the Nesivis, if it's 1 foot between them, it's also. If it's very thin between them, it's mutter. What happens if I don't change the location of it? What I did was, I only knocked off part of it. Yeah. Is that considered? I made it combined. I took the 2 of them combined and made it much smaller. Is that an issue or not? That means, could we say that when you open a window and that 1 foot between the 2 windows, that's considered shinui makom pesach or not? It's mashma that it is considered shinui makom pesach. And if you're going to take 2 windows of 2 feet and with a foot between them, knock them together and put a window of 3 feet right in the middle, you're still meshana makom pesach, because the foot in the middle used to not be open, and now it's open. You're going to tell me, what are you going to do in that 1 foot? Okay, then the guy's skin, he stood sideways, you can't see him in the 1 foot. Asif Vav, you're not allowed to open a window to your friend's chatzar. We probably know this already from before. Whether it's a big Chalon, and the big Chalon is defined later in Shulchan Aruch as a Chalon you could stick your head out through it and look, or it's a small Chalon where you can't stick your head out through it, but you could crane your head and you could see through it. So by a big window, it has a kavua. By a small window, it's not tashmish kavua. And still, it's also. And the reason, and even if you make it higher than Dalad Ames, it's also Aser. Why? Because maybe you're going to go up with a ladder and look over there and look through it. What's the chashash over here? We know already that even if you're allowed to open a window, you're not allowed to look through the window, peek over there, and that there's no chazakah on looking. There's only chazakah on the window that you're going to see later in Shulchan Aruch. So what is it b'chadash over here? So Taka, somebody says, the way it's understood, I'm going to see from the Rishonim, that it's not mamash that we're choishish that the person is going to be a poyrekoil and stand and bring a ladder to the window to be able to look out. It's just a matter that in the house, it's common. You're going to change your light bulb, you put a ladder up, and you're standing right at the same line as the window. So now comes the Ktseis HaChoshen brings, here's the first Ktseis on the Siman, brings the Ramban. The Ramban had a question. What's the question? By a chatzer, we say, the only height you have to do is the aldamas. Why aren't we choishish in a chatzer that you're going to have? The guy's going to put a ladder. And over there, the Ramban says, you're not choishish in by a chatzer that you're going to climb, is because, as opposed to here, is because it's not common to put a ladder to dreizach in a chatzer. But in the house, it is common. The Ktseis asks a question on the Ramban, and the Ktseis says the real reason for the difference between a chatzar, where we say that you don't have to make a wall higher than Dalad Ames, and you don't have to be worried maybe the person is going to put a ladder over there and climb and look over the wall by mistake, is not because that it's common in the house to have a ladder and it's uncommon in the chatzar to have a ladder. No, he says, let's go to the yesod of this whole inyan of Hezekriya. The Hezekriya element is not so much over here. The main issue that we have over here is that I'm nene from something which is my friend's. What's this? Or now, usually I have no right to be nene from somebody else's sink. I'm nene from my friend's chatzar, from my friend's avir, from my friend's air rights. I have hanoah from it. Elamai, we have an inyan of midas doim. Koifin on midas doim in the place where zen and never zeh l'chasar. So now, when it's a wall of 4, we can't be koi for him to make it higher, even though potentially you could put a ladder there. Why? Because when you're going to potentially put a ladder there, it's going to be chaser ktsas for the other person. It's not a complete hezek. Once in a while it happens, it's chaser ktsas. Chaser ktsas is not enough of a reason for me to be able to be koi for you to put a wall higher and to be chaser for it. But now let's take it to the other side. The same logic about chaser ktsas. By a window, if I open a window for my house, really I should be able to say that koifin al midas doim zenene is right? Should be koif for him to allow the window. But over here, by putting the window up there, there's also chaser ktsas for the same logic as the ladder. Same chaser ktsas would be there also. So being that there is chaser ktsas by a high window, because you could put a ladder over there and climb over there. So therefore, we don't have koifin al midas doim anymore. If we don't have koifin al midas doim, so the person has a right to tell you, I'm not interested in you having enough for my property.
By a chatzar, you also have a ladder.
Yeah, but by a chatzar you have a ladder, and because zenen v'zeli chatzar ktsas only, you are chatzar only ktsas, and it's not a full hezek, I can't be koi for you to make the wall higher than Dalad Ames because of your ladder. In a house, because zenen v'zeli chatzar ktsas, I can't be koi for you midas doim to let me have the window. So same reason, the chaser ktsas that applies by chaser applies by window also. The Nesivis says the whole kasha he says that the kasha of the ktsas on the Ramban makes no sense. That the teretz of the Ramban is good, and based on that Ramban, that by a chaser you don't have it's not common to have ladders, the Nesivis is Mechadesh that if you have a wall in the Chatzar, which is 4 amas high, and then, let's say you make the wall higher, you could put windows above the amas. In a house, you can't put windows above the amas. But a Kaiser Shabbat you could. Why? Because the whole Chashash is mitzad. There's going to be that there's no ladders in the there's ladders in the house, no ladders in the chatzar. If there's no ladders in the chatzar, why do I care if there's windows over there? I want to make a 10-foot high wall, 8-foot high gate, which is 10 foot, 20 feet, whatever it is, a big wall. But I want the sunshine to come in. So above the adamis, I'll make windows. That's not a problem, according to the way the Nesivis understands. But if you're going to go according to the Ktsos, it might be a shayla. So that would be enough community between them. If it's mitzad l'mashal, let's take a different example. If there is a scenario where there is hezekriya, but there will be no way to be koy for him. For example, if I live under here, and there's a Rishus Harabim across the street, and I would want to open up a window above 4, which usually I would not have an Isser for it. According to the Ktsas, by a window above Dalet, there's no Hezekriya. Because it's not common, it's Chaser Ktsas. The only issue is that Koyfen Amidas Daim. But Koyfen Amidas Daim doesn't apply because I'm not Nene from Yechotzer. I'm Nene from the Rishus Harabim. So I would be allowed to do it. According to the Nesivis, which holds that above the Adamas in the house, it's a Shaila of Hezekriya, would still be awesome. Siv Zayin. Let's go right. If someone opens up a Chalon to his friend's house, to his friend's Chatzar, sorry, not his house, and the Shulchan Aruch now brings 3 things. Machal, he did the Mechila, which means Mechila Mefereshes, or Gilui Das, that he is fine with this. For example, that he actually helped him make the Chalon, or he knew and he wasn't Ma'arer. Now, Mechila Mefereshes, and the third one that he knew and he didn't say anything, Mechila Mefereshes, and we're going to divide them into each one. I just want to explain because there's a big machlekes over here between the Taz and the Smeh, how to understand over here. We're going to get back to it in a second. It says, the Mechaber says, then he was machzik in a chalon. The Smeh says that whether there was Gilui Das, or there was Mechila Mefereshes, or Yoda, he knew about it, and it wasn't Ma'arer, all of them, according to the Shit of the Rosh, and those that hold it, you need 3 years, you need 3 years over here also. The Taz says, no. Taz over here says, divide them. Mechila Mefureshes, it's La'alter, L'kulei Alma in this case. Siyua, when you help him, Mesayea, that you help to make the windows, also don't need 3 years, it's La'alter. Only by the Yoda, that's when the 3 years apply. According to the opinion, say you need 3 years. What does knowing mean? Means that he knew there was a hezek, he recognizes hezek. We went through this in Kuf Nugim, I'm not going to go through it now. The Ramah continues, Kein roi lahoiros, that's how you should paskin. Why? Because this person was already machzik in the chalon. What does it mean? According to the Ramah, according to the Taz, it will be that in the first 2 scenarios, like we explained before, the chazak is la'alter. According to the Smeh, it would mean maybe 3 years. And the Ramah continues, even though many people disagree and say there's no chazak and a hezekriya, and even though they still can't roi lahoiros, that in this scenario there is a chazak in such a window. And still, the Ramah then points out something which Alter Rebbe also brings, that still, no, even if you have a chazaka for the window, you have no right absolutely to stand by the window and peek and look at him. And why? Because you're mazikim through the re'iyah. That means the chazaka you have is on the location of the window, that he let you have a window in your house so sunshine could come in. He didn't let you stand by the window and look at him. And on that, he could be moicha. Even if he gave you 5 years later, there's a window over there, and you machzik the window for sunshine, and 5 years later he starts seeing people standing over the Xaloin and looking, he could be moiche then. It's not a problem. It means you have a chazaka to have sunshine, you don't have a chazaka to be a yente. And for that, you could be moiche. On being a yente, you could be moiche. And as long as there's no chazaka, you could be ma'arer, that we know already, and you could close it. So now it depends what, as long as there's no chazaka. According to Smet, simple, as long as there's no chazaka all the whole 3 years. According to the mechaber, the chazaka is la'alter. So by mechila and siyua, it doesn't apply b'chlal. And by the third one, by yoda benisko, it means as long as there's no chazaka, it means that there was not enough time for him to find out his hezek. Now, do you need 3 years or not? The Rama himself over here says that there's no yesh emrim and yesh emrim. He doesn't not machriya, but he says, like I spoke in Kufnun Gimel about this, but ayin lekamon siman Kufnun Hey Seif Lamed Hey. And that I also discussed previously in a different shir, that we look at Kufnun Hey Seif Lamed Hey, it looks from there that according to the Rama, he's machriya that by cheskas nezakim it is la'alter and you don't need 3 years. But here's meramis to him in Kufnun Gimel. We didn't see him sending you to Kufnun Hey. Over here we do see him sending you to Kufnun Hey, and it's pretty much clear that he tells you there's machlekes, but look further and you'll see that my achra is different. Now, if you look, it's not lav dafke that it's from the Rama, because it's a different font. There's certain things you look in the old print, certain things were added. It's not like clear if those parentheses are from the Rama or not. The ayin lakama, but the ayin la'el Kufnun Gimel is definitely from the Rama. Seif ches. Chazaka and hezek re'iyah is only when you open a window. That means I'm standing, I open a window, and then the other person was not moiche. That means I am the mazik, you are the nizik, and you as a nizik were not moiche. So then there's the chazaka. But if you have a chatzar shutfim, and each one's looking at each other, each one of them is doing hezek re'iyah to the other person, there's no chazaka. And down the line, one could force the other one to say, I want to build a wall between us. Why is that? The mechaber says because they're not doing any specific action to show a chazaka. The whole time they're being mazik each other with hezek. None of them did an action to do hezek that you could make a chazaka on the action. So therefore, if there's no action, you can't make a chazaka on something which is no action. Chazakas only occur when the one person makes an action. So you say, I did an action and the other person was not meicher or was meichel, etc., then I, who did the action, have a chazaka. But if they're mazik each other, the whole time, none of them did a specific action to make a chazaka, to make a ma'aseh which would then generate a chazaka. That's not a problem. The Rosh brings 2 other reasons. And there's different nafkamins between them. I'm not going to go into it now. Just to tell you, the Rosh brings 2 other reasons. First of all, he could say the reason is the same logic, that one is mazik the other one, but not because there's no ma'aseh. Rather, this Rosh is, you see in the Torah. Why? Because each one says to the other one, hey, I was mazik you, you were mazik me. I was fine with it for a certain amount of time. Or I was not fine with it, but I didn't want to be a teveya and bezdin. I want to be a nitva. Prefer to be a nitva. For whatever reason. Today, prefer to be a nitva because you have more choices. And you could, but I want to be a nitva. So he says, I never wanted to go to Bezdin with you. I didn't want to go to fight with you in Bezdin. So I wanted to become the nitva. And then I would definitely agree to put a wall. But there is hezek. And the other reason is because it's similar to the hezek of kutra, of smoke, which you're going to see later on in Shulchan Aruch, that hezek is such a big hezek that there's no chazaka in it whatsoever. But the point of there's a chatzar ashutfim where there is constant hezek re'iyah and there's no action done to change it. For one person could tell the other one, even down the line, there's no chazaka, there never was a chazaka, and I want to put up a wall. Siftes, which is what I'm going to finish, if a person made a chazaka in a Xaloin, he opened the window from his house to the chatzar, and then the wall fell down, he doesn't lose his chazaka. And first of all, when he rebuilds the wall, means he could put the window back up. But obviously, it doesn't have to be said, because we learned it 3 sifim ago, when he puts up the window again, it has to be the same size, the same height, the same location, can't make it bigger, can't move it, etc., because of that. Now the smeh has a kasha over here. Why, when it's earlier in Siman Kuf Nun Gimel, when a person had the beams, when the wall falls, he loses chazaka, and over here, the chazaka doesn't disappear. So he says over there, the chazaka you had for the beams is a chazaka on the wall. You had a shibud on the wall. When the wall fell, your chazaka collapsed with it. Over here, your shibud is not on the wall. Your shibud is on his chatzar. That his chatzar provides light into your house. So therefore, since his chatzar is still there, the fact that your wall fell or stood up, the shibud that you have on that chatzar still remains. So therefore, when you rebuild the wall, the shibud is still there. You can still do it. Huh? What? The beams. Huh?
You put it in the wall.
If you put it on the other person's wall, huh? Is that for you? Hold on 1 second. I don't like going over time, but I'm not going to see it for 2 weeks, so that's fine. Hold on. The end of Siman Kuf Nun Gimel. Also Sif and yeah. L'chlifa. No, I'm saying with the end of the Siman. Reuven herzik ben itzas kodes bekoisel yidul lechavelu v'nofel es koisel v'chazar abal ubnoi eno linetz alois koisel chodosh. Yeah, and with that, I would, and so he says the difference is because over there you have a shibud on the wall. And the wall collapsed. Over here, we have a shibud on the chatzar, and the chatzar still exists. And there will be nafkaminas, which we don't have time to get into it. If the other person built up, if during that time when the wall was collapsed, the bala chatzar built a house over there, could you still have any claims to it, or he built something else over there which created a new chazaka? And then we go into the whole discussion that we had connected to Siman Kuf Nun Gimel. If the water is falling, if I had a chazaka and then you made a new chazaka, does a new chazaka kick out the old chazaka? What chazaka do I exactly have? V'chulu, but